So they're asking for and I'll use their order: body cameras, civilian review, and independent investigations of all police shootings resulting in fatalities.
And you're supposed to pick one and agree to one within a certain amount of time or something?
I believe what he said is he was going to give me a couple of minutes to agree on the spot to one. Let me just say this. So we all got to figure this out together. Okay, we got to figure out what's the way to govern, what's the way to police, what's the way to address underlying African-American racial disparities. And for instance, on civilian review, I think we've made it very public, and some of you probably already know, that the mayor ordered or directed, depending how you look at it, the public safety director to negotiate a civilian review board with a combination of parties, including Terry Kennedy, who's been championing that over the Board of Aldermen for quite some time. That's not something that we could or should do on the spur of the moment, because everybody in the city should have input on how that works, not just a few people. And so that's a process that we were very, very public about. I think the public safety director and the police chief went to and testified at the Public Safety Committee of the Board of Aldermen, I want to say about 3 weeks ago about that. Secondly is body cameras. Same thing. Body cameras is something that we have to have multiple discussions on. And again, at the same meeting, the public safety director said we support body cameras. We're looking at putting that into a bond issue, a broader bond issue, public safety bond issue. But again, that's a discussion that we have to have with everybody, including the police association, because that I believe our lawyer believes is a work rule. So that's something that we support. We support body cameras. It's not something I can deliver on the spot, but it's something, again, at that meeting about 3 weeks ago, both the public safety director and the police chief said that's something that we are supportive of, but we have to work out a policy on how it will all work, including, by the way, part of that policy has to be that, what happens to the video and what happens to the privacy of the people who on the other side of the body camera. But, given the fact that everything is on, everybody's got a phone and everybody's phone is a camera anyway, almost everything is videotaped anyway. And I actually strongly believe that having body cameras is as good for police officers as it is for the people who are demanding them. And then third, independent investigations of all police shootings resulting in fatalities. And we have had some discussions with law enforcement about that. Part of that is how do you go about doing that and who do you do it with? So, for instance, the Justice Department is highly unlikely that they're going to want to take that on. So then who's the next party? Maybe it's the Attorney General. And the other part of an independent investigation of all police shootings that result in fatalities is that the Circuit Attorney, who is independently elected, has something to say about that. So, for instance, in the latest case, I think you all know, we asked the Justice Department to come in and offer an independent set of eyes and ears. That was quite an undertaking to get them to do just that one case. And as you know, Jennifer Joyce held a news conference the other day to say that the U.S. Attorney here was willing to do that. So we're already moving on those three things. But again, a lot of people should be allowed to be part of making public policy. Including the 320,000 people who live in the city. They should be allowed to say what kind of body camera policy they want, what kind of civilian review policy they want, and how they want independent investigations. Some of these things we need to do, under the law, we need to do in discussions with the Police Officers Association, who represent the rank and file police officers. So, they're asking for things. The good news here is they're asking for things that we've been working on for a very, very long time. But again, they're things that other people in the city should have the opportunity to weigh in on as well.
So how do you placate them in a situation like this, knowing that, as you say, you're working on these things, government moves slowly, we're all aware.
Well, it's not just that we move slowly, it's that how do you get everybody? There are, if you don't, you will learn in the next few months that there are different opinions on all of this stuff. And everybody's opinion matters, not just the people in our rotunda, their opinion matters. The 320,000 people who live in the city of St. Louis, their opinion matters. Police officers, their opinion matters. We've got to get everybody part of this. We can't just say you matter and you don't. And so it's not just that city government takes a while, it takes a while to get a consensus. And we want, at the end of the day, what we'd like to see is a consensus where black people and white people, city and county, rich and poor are all coming together to work on these issues. Because if people just get mad at each other and talk past each other, make demands of each other, then we're going to have, we're going to have years of a mess. We need everybody at the table, and everybody's voice has to be heard. And certainly the folks who are down in our rotunda, their voice should be heard as well, but so should other people's voices.
So short term, what do you do with them? They're going to stay all night, theoretically?
Sure, if they want to. This is the people's building. I mean, as long as they don't break anything and they don't hurt anybody, if they want to stay there for a while, we've had people, not very often because it's not a very comfortable place, but, we've had people do that before, and that's fine. And we will meet with them. I mean, I tried to meet, as you know, with the leader to come up here and meet with him because I couldn't hear what he was saying down in the rotunda because I'm old and those whistles just sort of bounce off my ears and I couldn't hear anything. And then, I guess after a while, he decided to go back downstairs again. But we'll meet with them. And what would be really good is instead of talking past each other, instead of them making demands of us and us making demands of them, why don't we all sit down and talk these things through for the betterment of everybody and to get everybody supporting these changes? Because if you just pick sides in this thing, all we're going to do is have arguments and have fights and get mad at each other, and we're not going to be able to move this city, move this region forward. It's going to take all of us. And that's what the mayor talked about on Friday. He said it's time for the government, the federal, state, and local governments in the city and the county to sit down with all of the representatives of all of the protesters and say, what do we got to do to move this region forward? Right now, people are just yelling at each other and making noise at each other, and at some point we have to have a rational discussion, but everybody has to be involved for it to have legitimacy. If we were to go to this group of people and say, we're going to do what you want, does that mean the protests will end? Other protesters are going to get mad and say, what about us? So not only do we need to get all of the people of the city involved in these discussions, we got to get all of the protesting people involved. And you guys have been covering it and know there's lots of different groups with lots of different agendas, and to pick one over the other is going to make them mad. So body cameras worn by, they want body cameras. They want, I'll go over it again. Body cameras, civilian, I don't think it's necessarily in order of importance, by the way. Body cameras, civilian review board, and independent investigations of police shootings.
Oh,
and all of that is on the table.
And the 1033 program.
Yeah, I don't know what the 1033 program is.
You're talking about the Pentagon program.
Yeah, we don't have, well, that's an easy one. That's the one I can go deliver on because we have no military equipment. So there we go. Where's Patrick? We can deliver on that one. We have no military equipment. So there you go. That's why I didn't know what the program was because we don't have any.
Is the mayor's office reconsidering any policy about the extra security in some of the taxing districts about whether there should be any reconfiguration or reform of that system?
No.
Why?
Because it's not something that is at top of mind. What's top of mind is the issues of policing, issues of governance, and issues of racial disparities. That's what we're focused on. And that's what the people are telling us we should be focused on.
Where's Mayor Slade today?
He underwent a medical procedure, and he's not in the office today.
Okay. And did you mention that to Mr.
I'm not saying. And he's fine. He'll be fine.
Did you mention that to the young man that was?
No, I don't. No.
How would you characterize that meeting with him? I mean,
Well, what happened is I'll just tell you what happened. We walked back into the office. He asked to meet, because I couldn't hear him.
Right.
And he couldn't, whatever. So he said, well, let's go to your office. So we walked back in the office. And he said, and I said, I got Patrick in. We got a pad and paper and said, what are your demands? And then he got on his phone for about 25 minutes and scribbled this out and then handed it to me. And that was kind of the extent of it.
What's 1033 again, do you know?
I don't. I think it's military equipment, which
I might have gotten the number wrong, but it was loud in there.
But if it's military equipment, no, he wrote down 1033 program. We don't have military equipment. I think we have some old helmets or something, but we don't have any military hardware. That's right, isn't it, Rich? Yeah. We have no military hardware.
What organization did he say that he's with?
He didn't.
Jeff, why doesn't the police department take part in that program? Everybody else, I mean, every small department in Missouri takes part in that.
I don't know. I think that what ends up happening, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to speculate on why other departments have it. We obviously have never seen any need for it.
How do you respond to the I guess threat, if you will, that there's gonna be a large scale civil action in the next 48 hours if you don't,
If I don't do the impossible, you know, listen, here's what I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell everybody. Their voices matter. The voices matter of the other 320,000 people who live in the city. Police officers' voices matter. Other protesters' voices matter. If we went to one protest group and said, we're going to do what you want, and you're the only ones whose voices we're going to hear, the other protester groups would be upset, and rightly so. We're going to listen to everybody, and that's what we have to do. What everybody, and I hope that this group of protesters, other group of protesters, city residents, county residents, federal, state, and local government, we all pledge to each other that we're going to work together to find a way forward for our region that addresses issues like governance, addresses issues like policing, addresses issues of racial disparity, and we're going to do it together. If we do this yelling at each other and through emotion and getting mad at each other and talking past each other, we'll never get to where we need to be. So what will I tell them? Your voices matter and everybody's voices matter, and let's figure this thing out together for the good of our city, the good of our region, and to address the issues that you find important. Again, it's not like they asked for us to build a ladder to Mars and charge people for climbing up to Mars and use that money for something. They are talking about the very same things that we're talking about. They're talking about the very same things that our citizens are talking about. But our citizens have a right to be involved in all of this too. And so if we had a group of, I don't know, if we had a group of 40 of our citizens who came in and said, you know, we demand that you stop talking to protesters. You know, we would say the same thing to them. Your voice matters, and we're going to listen to you, but we're going to listen to them too. And that's really what's missing for the last 3 months is all of us listening to each other, okay? Whether we have a different worldview or not, whether we have a different job or not, it's time for us to start listening to each other. But all of us, the protesters need to listen to people in the neighborhoods. People in the neighborhoods need to listen to the protesters. The government needs to listen to the protesters, and apparently the protesters need to listen to each other. And that's what we need to have happen.
Have you heard about possibly something happening at tonight's Monday night football game?
So-
when they first came out, it was on the
yeah.
list. So are you all prepared for
Oh, yeah. That's why, I mean, you're going to see a very light touch here because this is the People's Building. And I don't have any specific intelligence on Monday Night Football, but, you know, we've heard the same things that you heard, and our folks will be ready. That they all, very generically, that was going to be a target. But we also had heard that the last 2 baseball games were going to be a target.
inside or outside?
Generically. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. I don't have specific intelligence.
Do you perceive that as a threat, what he's talking about, and if not within the
No, I think that if I were he, I'd say the same thing. Listen, everybody has to do what they have to do.
But what do you take that to mean?
I don't take-
Large-scale civil action.
You know, I'm not going to I'll let him characterize what he means by that instead of interpreting it. I'm just telling you that we are going to listen to them. We will meet with them, but we're going to meet with a lot of other people too. You're going to see action out of this. Some of you weren't here on Friday when the mayor said it's time for the government and the protesters to sit down and start negotiating and start listening to each other and start working through these issues and start fashioning solutions. And that's the right way to do it, and that's the way we're going to do it. And we're going to listen to them, and we're going to be respectful of them, and if that's not good enough, then we'll live with the consequences.